Hasbro hints at 2010's lineup, Lucas goes blockbusting on The Daily Show, and the Saga takes a hit in the box office. It's January 11th, and you'll hear about those stories and more this week in Star Wars. This Week in Star Wars is your source for new and noteworthy developments in the world of Star Wars. I'm your host, Matt Fox. This week's lead story comes to us from the world of collecting. Numerous collecting websites over the past few days have published images which appear to be from a Hasbro marketing presentation highlighting the product line of 2010. Most noteworthy among the slides include information which would indicate the return of an upsized AT-AT vehicle in 2010, as well as a return to vintage-style packaging throughout the line, including prequel figures. The images, which presumably are slides from Hasbro's Toy Fair presentation, also indicate a return of the Ultimate Galactic Hunt, or UGG line in 2010, as well as Force FX lightsabers with removable blades. Astute Hasbro rumor followers will note that there is actually very little new in these slides, which simply confirm rumors which have floated around the community for many months. What's more, the slides do not show any new product, even in the prototype stage, but instead rely upon file footage and old product photos. If true, however, these products will satisfy a number of long-standing fan wishes. Not surprisingly, there's no word from Hasbro on the validity of the photos, but we can presume the mystery will be laid to rest at Toy Fair, which is going to be held in New York between February 14th and 17th. The slides themselves can be seen on toyark.com and have been republished, analyzed, and summarized on all the popular collecting sites and Rebel Scum. George Lucas last week appeared on Jon Stewart's The Daily Show to pimp his new book, George Lucas's Blockbusting, a decade-by-decade survey of the timeless movies, including untold secrets of their financial and cultural success.
This book is devastating.
The book, actually helmed by Alex Block and Lucy Wilson, is a decade-by-decade study of the Hollywood film industry and how blockbusters have been developed and made over the years. And while that title, George Lucas's Blockbusting, a decade-by-decade survey of timeless movies, including untold secrets of their financial and cultural success, may seem long, the book itself is 976 pages, and at Amazon.com's price of $17.99, must be one of the best pound-per-pound values out there in literature today. George Lucas's Blockbusting, Words, 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 is, not surprisingly, published by George Lucas Books and is now available at Amazon and other major book resellers. One film that is not in George Lucas's Blockbusting, but will probably be in the second edition, is James Cameron's Avatar, which this week dislocated Star Wars Episode 3 in the top 10 all-time grossing films in the United States. Avatar, at the time of this recording, sits with $429 million in domestic box office gross, just $2 million behind Star Wars Episode 1, which, by the time you hear this, it has probably surpassed. Only the original Star Wars Episode 4, A New Hope, remains ahead of Cameron's latest juggernaut. However, with a gross of $460 million, it seems inevitable that it too will be passed. These and other fascinating box office tidbits are available on boxofficemojo.com. But wait, maybe the success of Avatar will actually help George Lucas blockbuster himself into more money from the original films. TheTimes.co.uk reports that long-standing rumors that the original films would be converted into 3D are very much alive. According to the story, Lucas is spending $10 million to convert Episode 4 into 3D, an amount which, if true, would probably be made back within minutes of release. However, a careful read of the story doesn't actually attribute that fact to anybody, and that rumor has been floating around for at least a couple years. So add Star Wars in 3D to the long list of things that maybe we'll hear something about at Celebration 5.
Me? I'm a collecting fool.
More collecting news this week. New images of the 2010 packaging for the Clone Wars line surfaced this week, along with those images from the alleged Toy Fair presentation by Hasbro. The theme, which is primarily blue and contains clone imagery as well as stormy clouds, retains the angular look of the 2009 packaging. The packaging indicates that the standard 3 3/4-inch figure line will include a battle card game pack-in. These images are available in the Yakface forums. The Dark Times is the newest 40-piece expansion for the Wizards of the Coast Star Wars Miniatures game. The 40-piece set will be available on January 26th. Previews of some of the pieces in the set are available on StarWars.com. In other publishing news, images from the upcoming book Star Wars Visions have been made available on StarWars.com. Few details of the book are available at this time beyond its fall 2010 expected publication date, although from the images on StarWars.com, it would appear to be a book-sized version of Star Wars Galaxy trading cards, with artists contributing work inspired by the Star Wars saga. Our last news item this week was the new theme music you heard at the start of today's show. The one and only Christopher Lee, Count Dooku from episodes 2 and 3, is releasing a quasi-metal rock opera CD based on the life of Charlemagne. Charlemagne, as you no doubt recall, was the first Holy Roman Emperor and reigned over Central Europe in the 8th and 9th centuries. Known as the Father of Europe, Charlemagne united lands which had been disunited since the days of the Roman Empire, standardized education across his empire, and gave us the alphabet that we still use today. But, most importantly, apparently, he's also an ancestor of Christopher Lee. In tribute to his slightly more famous ancestor, Christopher Lee will be releasing Charlemagne by the Sword and the Cross on March 15th, a self-described concept album with original words and symphonic metal music. Details of the project can be found on charlemagneproductions.org. Well, Hasbro collectors, they did it to us again. 2009 was both horribly predictable and unprecedented at the same time. How is that? Well, as it has been with 7 of the 8 previous years, Hasbro set a new record last year for the number of figures they produced. If you bought one of everything last year that Hasbro put out, you got 342 new figures. If you buy just the carded figures, you got 133 new figures. Now sure, that includes some repacks, but not as many as in recent years. Now I'm not going to calculate the cost of how much those 342 figures would have cost you, especially since some of them came with vehicles or in overpriced exclusives. But when you read these Hasbro Q&As about collectors losing interest and sales being down, maybe this is something they need to look at. The collector who used to get everything, but has now dropped a line or didn't go with Clone Wars, maybe they're still spending just as much as they did in the old days. There's just so much product out there, they can't keep up. I don't know, just a thought. You can see the chart I used to arrive at these figures at twisw.com, which is a pretty good reference for Hasbro's production since 1995. And that was This Week in Star Wars. Join us again next week for more news, notes, and developments from the galaxy far, far away. Visit our website, twisw.com, where you can find links and more details about the stories mentioned in today's show, as well as the internet's finest archive of Fish Police episodes. This Week in Star Wars, we troll the web so you don't have to.
This Week in Star Wars is not affiliated with Lucasfilm, its subsidiaries, or any other entity mentioned in this podcast. Star Wars, its characters, and creations are the property of Lucasfilm. All other trademarks are property of their respective trademark owners. This Week in Star Wars is intended for informational and entertainment purposes only. This podcast is copyright 2010 This Week in Star Wars. Invaluable technical assistance provided by WebStorm Interactive. News, comments, and questions can be directed to host at thisweekinstarwars.com. More information, links to stories presented, past episodes, and additional contact information are available at www.thisweekinstarwars.com.
The heathen ways, 30 years of campaigning consumed to subject those pagans to Christian rule. The yearning of burden,
river flowing red with the blood of 4,000 men that I did behead.
I shed blood of Saxon men, I shed the blood of the Saxon men,
I shed the blood of the Saxon men,
I shed the blood of the Saxon men,
I shed it at Vernon,
I shed the blood of the Saxon men, I shed the blood of 4,000 Saxon men, I shed blood of Saxon men, I shed the blood of the Saxon men.
I shed the blood of the Saxon men.